Hey everyone, and welcome back to another DuBois tutorial video. So in this one we're going to be building another one of his visits. This one is called the income and expenditure of 150 Negro families in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. And what we can see here is it breaks down the spending of 150 families across different categories here, and it shows the different percentages. Actually, since this is not as clear, I'm going to show the one that I built before that we're going to try to replicate. So now hopefully this shows it a bit better. We have the different class of spending. So there's a range, and then we have the actual average, and then we have the breakdown according to rent, food, clothing, tax, and other expenditures. This is actually one of my favorite DuBois portraits. I just find it really, nice looking, and of course, we have to be a little bit creative in building this, but let's move along and see what we can do here. So before going into anything, a few things which we may need to gather. As you can see, we've got the little gold coin here, which is an image, and we have an image of a house and an image of a young mother and kid over here. You can go on Google and essentially search for similar images, download them to your desktop. Or you can do what I did, which is I went to Tableau Public and I downloaded the workbook that I had already built, and then I unpackaged it. So what I did is I just went here, I have the file, right? I got it here, right click, I'm going to show more options, and you hit unpackage. Now when you hit unpackage, it's going to create this little file folder here. You can double click that, images. And then if you want to, you can grab the images that I used. That's what I'm going to do. So something to keep in mind, you're going to need those images. And now that we have this, I'm going to exit here. So for this one, I'm going to start from scratch. So I'm going to go right to getting the data. So let's do that. Since this one for this year's challenge, this is the number 1. So we're going to go to GitHub here. The link is going to be in the description for you as well. So we have challenge number 1. I'm already logged into GitHub over here. So I click challenge 1 and then data.csv. I'm going to right click and save link as. Maybe I'm gonna click this. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to copy the raw contents, and then I'm going to open up a text file. So right click, new text document, and I'm going to call this plate 31.csv. I'm going to double click this, and I'm just going to paste the contents here, close, save. And now let's go back to Tableau. Alright, so let's get some new data so we can start working with this. Let's go data, new data source. I'm going to hit text file, and then I'm going to go to my desktop. You can go to wherever you have the file stored. So when you click this, you hit open, and we can see that the data is basic columns. We have the class, and then we have that average across each class, and then we have the percentages for rent, food, clothes, tax, and other. So as we can see, these are already whole numbers. So that's something to keep in mind if you're building this out. You're most likely going to have to just use this as a number and then manually add the percentage symbol as a format. Alright, so now that we have this, I think the first thing that we may want to do here, just looking at this data set, is we're going to pivot this data. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's pivot those into one field. That way it's easier for us to do what we need to do in this visualization over here. To do that, we click here, hold shift, and we click here. And then we right click, and then we hit pivot. Boom. Simple, easy. And then what we want to do is we want to call this, let's just call this categories, just to be, you know, simple. You can call it whatever you want. And then we're going to call these expenditure. So essentially we're just looking at the expenditure across the different categories. Awesome. With our data like this, I think we're good to go. So just as a reminder, we're going to be building out this little view here. And to start with, let's get a new worksheet going. So let's go here. And we have plate 31. So the first thing we want to do, let's grab categories and put it on color. Okay, so we have our 5 categories, looking good. Now let's see here. We're just going to be doing stacked column charts. So we can grab expenditure and put that in the columns. So now we have it broken out. We now need to break this out into classes. So let's go back there. We're going to grab class and put it on rows. Perfect. One null. Where's the null? Okay. I think this null, this value up here is missing the value for food. So for other, I'm gonna check this out later. Maybe there just isn't anything. It looks okay, 28% plus 43%. That's what, 71, I think. Plus 19 is 90. Plus 9.9. So 99.9. So maybe there's like 0. Like a teeny percentage missing there. For now, I'm actually going to continue, but we can fix that in the data. So hide indicator. Let's do full screen. Let's hide this. Right click, format, left align. And then we need to now add in a second row which shows the actual average. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first grab the field, drop it onto the marks pane, and then I'm going to click this little arrow here. What we want to do is we want to convert this into a discrete pill. So discrete, and now we can grab that number, put it here. So it gives us the breakdown that we're looking for. So this field here is in dollars. So let's do some little formatting. Right click, format, pane. Actually, no, that's a header. Numbers, we're gonna do it as a, let's do currency, custom. Maybe 1 decimal place should be good. And I think that has us covered. Okay, so now that we have this going, the next thing that we want to do is, for a lot of this is going to be formatting stuff, so I'm going to start doing that. Hide field labels. Our goal is to make this match as close as possible, but understanding the reality that, you know, DuBois, he did a bunch of handcrafting for these vizzes, we may not have that same level of flexibility. So just keep in mind that what you see going on here is an idea of how we can replicate this. If you choose to go along and you happen to have something like slightly different, that's completely fine. As a matter of fact, you know, I would encourage people to like really kind of play around and see like how can we achieve what we're trying to achieve here, you know, whether that's in Tableau or whatever tool you want to look into. So I'm just doing what I've done before, but of course, like I said, there are other ways that this could potentially be done. So cleanup time. Let's go rows. I'm gonna remove, let's see, I want to keep this row borders for the header but not the pane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here for the row dividers, pane none, header we still have those, and then actually header we want these to stay. Perfect. We want them to be black. I'm gonna change this. I don't want to see this column divider, so I'm going to hide it both. But I do want to see this axis line, so I'm going to go line, turn off the axis ticks, no zero lines, no grid lines, but axis rulers, I want that for my rows. So we want it to be black. Perfect. And then I'm going to turn off the rest. No zero lines, no nothing. So what I'm trying to do here, just for reference, this little piece. Now moving here, we want to label these percentages. So we click this, drop it on label. So control, click, drop it on label. You can see the numbers are looking good. So let's format a little bit. Right click, format, numbers. We want to do a custom number. So remember when we talked about this being a percentage? So that means that rather than clicking percentage, we click number. And then we can turn off the decimal places. And then we can add in the suffix. We can type the percentage symbol. And now we have things formatted how they're supposed to be. So now that we have this, I would say the next thing that we can do is, you see the categories. Do we sort 100, 200, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 7, 7? Okay, sorting is good here. Now let's do some coloring just to move ahead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this original in another window, and actually I'm just going to put this in another window and pick the colors using the color picker. And so how we would do that is we click color, edit colors, we double click on clothes, pick color, and you may not see where I'm picking from, but it's on my other screen. It's like a little, actually I'm gonna not do that. Something interesting happens with my laptop. The resolution doesn't pick properly on this new computer, so I'm going to actually just copy and paste the color code from my previous file. But I would encourage you to just use a color picker, or you can just copy the color codes into the workbook. So for rent, it's black. For other, it was a specific shade of gray. For food, it was a shade of purple. For clothes, it was a nice orangey kind of color. And taxes are some kind of neon purple. Blue, not purple. Okay. Awesome. Coming close. Alright, I had to pause for a little bit there, but essentially we have this view now basically settled in, and I sorted the view to match what we can see in the original here. So just wanted to point that out. Alright, so now that we have this, let's call this view, let's say plate 31 underscore 1. We still have some minor changes to make here, but I'm going to leave those for now. High title. Let's create another new sheet. And then for this one, what we're looking to do is just to create this little small thing over here. So to do that, let's see here. Let's grab categories, put it back on color. And let's see. What did I do on my previous one? I'm just gonna cheat here and check it out. So I want this to be basically a bar with even width. So to do that, we can grab this field called plate31.csv.count. Let's put that in columns. Perfect. So what it does is it's basically just counting, you know, the rows across the different categories. It has an even, like equal number of rows, and so it's just me using that fact to create this thing here. So something to keep in mind. Now, what else do we need after we've done this? So we got this. Okay, maybe we can start to have like a little bit of fun. So what I want to do is, just to keep it simple, I'm going to right click and duplicate this sheet, but I'm going to remove everything from it, and we're going to rebuild it from scratch. Remove. Oh, wait a minute. We have this later. So we're going to have to build this later on. And then this container, this. Okay. And so in your case, of course, you know, you would need to just add in your title. In our case, I'm not going to redo that since it's already here. This background was made in Figma. I've talked about it before. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but of course, you know, if you want to build a similar gallery style, you can, you know, reach out to me. We can talk about it if you want to. But other than that, you know, you can just kind of lay out the plain background. If you're just building a single viz, that'll be fine. Coloring wise, it's just basically like, you know, light beige. Those kind of details, I say, you can essentially decide for yourself. I'm just sticking to what I did originally and following up on that. So just keep that in mind. All right. So now that we've got this, I'm gonna pull play 31.1 into the view, make it floating. I'm gonna remove this legend or this container with the colors for now. So let's bring this in. I believe we have to position this. Just kind of stretch it out like that. I'm gonna be using the original as a reference. So let me actually bring this to front, floating order to the front, just so I can see it. So we have these laid out like I'm trying to do here. So let's right click and format so that we can remove the background. To do that, we hover on the color, click sheet, worksheet, and then none. All right, now let's hide the title. And we want to show the headings for these. So let's go to analysis and table layout, show field labels for rows. Awesome. And how does this look in the original? Actual average. Okay. So hide original. I'm going to click this sheet, format, font. As you've noticed, I've been using the Courier new font, and so I'm just going to continue using that here. And then this down. Right click. I'm going to format this. Maybe do alignment up so that it matches. Actually, maybe. Let's see if I put this in here. Okay. Maybe I just leave it as one line here. And we bring the alignment back to the middle. Okay. So I think that's close enough. Let's make this perhaps a little bit darker. So format, font, click there, make the color maybe it's like a tad bit darker. Let's do one below black. Well, let's just do full black. Same thing here. The font is faint enough that the dark isn't overwhelming, but typically I wouldn't use full black for text. Just, you know, a thought to keep in mind. See this here? Let me see. I don't want to see anything overlapping. Just personal choice. So if I can label, okay, so it isn't. Oh yeah, this is kind of close. Oh well, anyways, continuing on. So now we have this little front bit here. Fit entire view, great. Now we can bring in you know what, perhaps I might just conserve space and let this sit like this. Okay. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and bring in the other sheets here. that has those 4 borders. Oh, sorry, that little chart. No title, fit the entire view, and then let's remove the background. So right click, format, color, sheets, worksheets, none. I ran through that very quickly, but I've done this a few times and I hope that, you know, that was still clear what just happened there. So I'm just going to play around with this and size it so that it fits. I'm using floating containers just so that I have that flexibility of moving things around. That's my preferred method of, you know, making things fit. Okay, so let me see, maybe I can here, layout. Okay. Now what we need to do is sort this according to the same. So I think I'm just gonna go here. I think rent was at the bottom, and then food was next, and then clothes were next, and then tax and other. So I think we've got the sorting right now. So let's call this, I guess I can just call this legend 1. There you go. Alright, so now we have this. Back to our sheet there. Okay. Next, what we want to do is process. Go back to the original. Let me make the bars slimmer first of all. I think that works. Alright, so now the next thing we want to do is let's grab a container that is horizontal. We want to stack a few things beside each other. Click here, make this floating. And then we're going to position this on top of this one here. So when I click here, I can see that it starts at the 520x position. So I'm going to type in 520. I can see that the length or the width is 428. So I'm just going to go 428. Actually, no, I'm just going to manually drag it to fit. And then I'm going to pull this down here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stacking side by side. Right? This is basically just, you know, photo, text, 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 photo, text, text. Now, we're going to improvise, by the way. As you can see, this text is just really teeny. So, you know, legibility, like you can have 20/20 vision, you're not going to see that, but I can kind of see it a little bit, and so I'll type out some of that. You can see that and use it as a reference. But as far as pictures go, I'm going to go dashboard, click image, drop it here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that folder where I had those images stored from my previous dashboard. So first going to center the image, then I'm going to fit the image, then we can go choose. And then I need to click my DuBois folder. I'm going to go to files, image, and the first image that we need to bring in, I believe, was of the house. So let's click open, apply, okay. I'm going to hit layout. I'm going to distribute this evenly. So the next thing we need is a text box. That beside it, and in the text box I'm just going to copy what I typed out in my previous viz, and it says dietary. Let me make it bigger so we can read it together. Dietary of well-to-do Negro Black family from Bulletin, U.S. Department of Agriculture number 71. So this is sort of like, I guess, a government body that's reporting on some statistics of families. I guess that's how they did it back in the day. Handmade, handwritten, you know, impressive stuff. So I'm going to make this size 6, which is small. You have to type it in manually. In case you didn't know, yes, you can go below this size. It's not really recommended if you want things to be legible, but I'm sure you can understand why we don't really care that this is legible. This is just, you know, creating a look as opposed to passing information in this particular text here. This is where the information lays. So as long as these are clear, the rest of this you can kind of, you know, play around, make it fun, you know, but of course we have to the goal here is to make it as close to the original as possible. So to do that, we need to grab another image, put it in the box, and this time we're gonna show the mother and the kid. So again, we fit image, we center image, we hit choose, and then we fit here, and we open, and then we go apply. Okay, and then we need another text box. Again, I'm just gonna copy what I had before. So put this on the side, Control V. As usual, let's enlarge it and read it together. The state tax rate is, boom, and it just lists the tax rates for these years, 1880 up till 1899 essentially. So it's essentially highlighting the expenditure and income, and of course, to have an actual representation of, you know, the true income, we have to understand how much of that is going to taxes. And so this kind of just shows how the tax rate has been gradually progressing over the time periods there. Another piece of information, I'm going to change this to size 6 again. Okay, and then we need one more text box. Let's put some more text. So let's grab text and put it. Come on, catch up to me. Okay, what is this? Control V. Once more, size 10. The higher life, religion, arts, education, sickness. I honestly don't know what this means. I just looked at the thing in the original. Like I squinted. If you read here, you can kind of see here the higher life, religion, art, and it's kind of says other expenses and savings. So I guess that's what that is. That is other expenses and savings. I lied. I actually read that before, but I need a reminder. So that's what this is. These are just other expenses, which is what this category represents over here. Okay. So now that we've done this, again, one step closer to completing it, we need to have borders, if I remember correctly. So let's confirm. Yeah, so let's add some borders. Just again, you don't have to, but in the spirit of keeping close to the original, I'm going to. So I go here. In the original, I actually don't think I had borders for this, so maybe I'll skip it. But for this one, I'll add it. So borders, give black. 16. Go here and border. So I'm gonna click border, make it a line. Then I'm gonna go to the layouts. I'm gonna close, remove all the outer padding. 0, boom. So that way it fills up the whole thing. That's why I did that. Click here again, remove the spacing, add the border. Same thing, click here, remove the spacing, add the border, remove spacing, add the border, and finally remove the spacing and add the border. Alright, so this is not exact. You can see this doesn't really fit 100%. Let me see if I can play around with this. I think if I move the container a little bit higher, is it going to fit better? Alright, so I actually made it shorter, not taller. Right, so this is close enough. Again, perfection is never a goal. Something that I'm actually having to learn. Alright, so now that we've got this, alright, now let's move this closer downwards. And then we need one more layer of we need one more sheet to build out this top here, this top text. So let's hide. We're going to use a similar trick for this one. So I'm going to click here, go to this sheet, right click, duplicate. And so for this, what I want to do is, I don't want to color it by category. I want to color it to be the same color as my sheet, but I do want to, let's see. So we want to grab our categories and put it on the text. Perfect. So this breaks out the categories. If we go enter, but you can see it's basically just lining out tax, rent, other, food, clothes. Let me change the font here. Label, font, career new. We're gonna have this eventually to be black, and in the original it was capitalized, so we can do that here. It's not capitalized here. To do that, you double click category and you wrap it in a function called upper, which hopefully you've encountered this before, but if not, it changes anything inside of it into capitalized text. So let's go back to the worksheet and let's bring that in. Floating, no title, and then this starts at the X position 522, so let's bring that to 522 as well. And then let me move this up a little bit, drag this up here, pull this up a bit. Okay, and now let's color this to color, oops, what am I doing this way? Okay. So now let's color this the same color as the background. Actually, perhaps I'm going to make this text one size smaller just because perhaps I should just make it. Alright, I guess that's as good as it gets. And then for the colors, we're basically just coloring the same as this background. I picked the color from the other viz. So if I go here and I go here and I go more colors, I can paste it here, click OK. And now it blends in to look as though it's just a part of the thing. So I'm going to try to move this thing so that this part shows. To do that, I'm going to try to do the inner padding to see if that helps me fix it. Left, 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 left. Okay, so that's done. I need to remove something from this background, so just give me a second to play around with this. Format, borders. We're going to just turn off everything. So no axis ticks, no axis rulers, no zero lines, no grid lines. Do the same thing for rows. No axis ticks. I hope this ruler does it. Perfect. So now we're good. I can shift this back. Stretch this out a little bit. Okay. So now we're getting closer and closer. This one is a bit of a, finicky creation, just because again, we're making use and leveraging things in Tableau that are not directly obvious, but just the detail of it is why we need to spend this time doing this. So all right, so we're getting actually very close to the end now. I know this video has been going for some time, so I'm going to try to start wrapping up. The next thing I'm going to do is bring in the coin. So this little coin over here, we're going to pop that into the view by bringing an image. Let's make it centered, fit, and then we'll choose the file. We're going to bring in the gold coin, open, apply, OK. Remember to give credit to wherever you got your images from. That's something to keep in mind. If you get it from, like a free picture website, they usually provide some guidance on how to cite stuff and how to use this stuff. So something to keep in mind as we use images in Tableau. Alright, so now that we've got this, I think that we're actually, let's look at the origin. View origin. Arrow. Bring to front. Alright, so let's see. We've got the coin, we've got the title, we've got a little words. Maybe something we can do here. I didn't have this in my original, but this top title, annual expenditure for, let's add that in. For further statistics, raise the. So I'm not going to add that in because again, that wouldn't be logical to add. So Alt, add original. Let's grab one more text box. And then we're gonna type, what was it? Annual expenditure for century. No. Yes. No. Courier. Size 8. No, 9, 8 is fine. Floating, and then I believe this started at, what was it again? 522. Perfect. Grab it here. Pull this down. Let's add a border around it. Let's drag this out. Center this whole thing, and maybe move this just a tad bit up so that it can match the little space in between. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, perfect. And so I think that we can say that we've done a relatively decent job of recreating this viz, and I'm actually kind of curious if you would have thought to do things in the same way that I did them. So if you feel like sharing with us, definitely feel free to, leave us a message. But other than that, I think this is one of the ones where essentially you had to have thought about things in a creative way. I don't know that I've seen anyone else do it in Tableau, and I think we can understand why. But this is it. It's actually not very difficult to build. It's just a matter of creatively thinking. These are just stacked bars. That's basically it. So I hope this was fun for you. There's tooltips here. You can clean that up. I'm just gonna ignore them for this video. But other than that, I really hope that you have a great time with this challenge this year. We hope you can tell your friends all about it and you can all come and participate. And so till the next video, I hope you all have fun and happy visiting. Take care.